Hey, so hiring the right contractor can make or break your project, right, Brooks?
Yeah, it can really be the difference between your dream home and a total disaster.
Yeah. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brooks.
And we're here to help save you thousands of dollars in your next project. We're going to educate you and give you the 9 things to talk about.
Right, that's right. So we're going to talk about 9 essential tips that you must know when hiring the right contractor. It can really help you to have peace of mind, help you to save money, and also save your time when looking for the right contractor.
Yeah, and being in the business, I've seen many homeowners lose thousands of dollars. You hear stories all the time, and it's just because they don't know what to look for. They don't even know the question to ask. So these simple 9 steps will change the game across the board for you. So stick around. At the end, there's one important piece of paper that will change everything. It save you $1,000. You have to have it in place. If you don't, it will cost you $1,000. So stick around to the end. We're going to show you that. And a little bit about who we are. I'm Jerry on �紐day Construction. Just blessed to have such a great team of guys behind me. And the work that we're doing and the quality we're putting out. I'm so grateful to be in this industry. I want to come at the industry to educate you as a client, because there's just so many bad contractors out there. I remember somebody asked me who our number 1 competition is, and it's bad contractors. So unfortunately it is that, and a lot of customers don't know that. And it's, well, actually they do know it. The industry's tainted with it, unfortunately. And so a lot of people are very skeptical when hiring contractors. So education is where it's at, and that's what we want to do for you.
Right. And so my name is Brooks Burnette, and I own a digital marketing agency for home remodeling contractors, and I've been working with Jerry for about 2 years now or so, and I just help with creating websites, marketing, social media, spreading the presence and the awareness of Jerry in his local area here, and just very happy to work with him.
If you own a business, definitely reach out to me, because this man can help you. It's been I said number 1 thing to help us grow. Not the number 1, but definitely one of the key components to help us grow.
Right.
It's been really helpful. Man, I'm sitting there looking at that nice head of hair. I'm thinking, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I need to get it cut, man. It's getting a little out of control.
I remember back in the day when I was in high school, in the 80s, I had that nice curly mohawk.
Yeah,
the mohawk,
the mullet.
No, the mullet, that's what it was, the mullet. So yeah, I remember you used to perm my nails. That's what reminded me of when I seen you.
Yeah.
So my high school days, I did have that nice.
We're
I actually had
bringing
a
it
perm
back,
all
man.
around. Yeah, so
bringing it back.
Maybe we'll show them one day. So I did want to share one story. I had a friend, and so that bought a home, and unfortunately couldn't wait because we were so busy. He wanted to get things moving, so he hired a contractor. I even said, dude, this is what you need to look for. This is the question you ask. He didn't do any of it. I'm like, and that usually is kind of what happens. It's like people know, but they don't do the steps it needs to take, and then they get caught by a bad contractor and they've lost thousands of dollars. So in his case, wow. Let me start out by saying he hired him and knew he already had bad Google reviews. I'm like, why would you hire him and knowing he had bad reviews? Well, he talked and he told us everything about him, and we fell in love with him. I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So doing your research is, because people can tell you anything they want to tell you, right? But doing your homework is actually going to save you. So he ended up losing a little over $25,000 on that job. Because the contract did not come back. He paid him in advance, and that's another thing, is don't ever pay in advance. We'll talk about that as we go through this. Just last week, it had a big flood in his house because the plumbing was not done right. It was out of code, and it cost another $40,000 in damage. His house was tore apart. So I'm like, wow. So be careful. I know you don't think it never happened to you. It can. It happens every single day. And so just by the education is going to help you out. So
let's just dive right into these 9 steps. You know, one of the first things, I guess, is insurance and licensing, and just making sure that your contractor has the proper awareness of and ability to showcase those pieces of information. How important is that?
Insurance is very, very important, because if anybody gets hurt on your property, you're responsible for it. Your insurance got to pick it up. And if your insurance makes a claim, guess what? If you may have had a roots claim before then, you could get canceled, and that could cost you thousands too. And so insurance, oh wow, that's another big one in the construction industry. This is how you can tell whether a company is really tracking, and their legitimate company is really checking their insurance. Workman's comp is very expensive. It's very hard to deal with. So making sure that's in place. And the biggest thing is they hand them a piece of paper, say, here's my insurance. And you go, okay, that's great. No, you can't stop there. You've got to call. And the reason, because as a contractor, I can go get a insurance policy. I can pay my down payment. They give me the policy. I've got a policy. I can cancel it. I still have a policy. I can give you as a customer. So you definitely want to be careful. You call the insurance company. You just ask them, hey, just make sure this is in place. They'll tell you yes or no. They're supposed to do that. You can actually ask to be an additional insured on that too. And so your job is covered. Make sure you're covered. So making sure that's in place is a must. There's a whole nother video I can go through about ghost policies. I may tip a little. I'll talk about it a little bit here. In the workman's comp industry, there's this thing called a ghost policy. It covers one individual only, and it's very inexpensive. It's like $1,500 a year. And that's good. It'll cover. It gives them allowable work. But if they have anybody else with them, every single person on that job has to be covered under workman's comp. That's what you got to verify. So I know that's hard. I know that's, but it's a must. Liability insurance, same way. So you got workman's comp, liability. Workman's comp covers if they get hurt. Liability covers if a flood goes on your house, right? So what we do is in our insurance, we actually list our customers as additional insured, and they get a copy of that. So they know they're covered and their house is covered. That way, if there's any damage, something happens, a flood overnight, something like that, our insurance pick it up and take care of that. So,
Now, for licensing, are contractors required to showcase their license to anybody, or do you have to ask?
Oh, you have to ask. Not required. It's not a law. It's a law that we all should carry workers' comp. It's not a law to show it. So, definitely want to ask that. Hey, so if any of this information we go through there is, you know how this social media stuff works, please like and share our video, or at least like it. That helps us out a lot to get this information out. If this is helpful for you, help you save some money, please give us a shout out.
So Jerry, going off of what we just talked about with the licensing and insurance, once someone's ready to take that next step and hire a contractor, large deposits, what is the best way to go about that?
Scary large deposits, right? That is scary. It's got to be scary for you because you're fixing to hand the $1,000 over to this contractor, trusting that they're going to do the right thing, and you don't know, right? You have a contract in place, but we know how that works. If you don't have an address on them, you don't know where they live, not going to help. So deposits are very, very it's questionable, right? So we don't take deposits, unless it's a special order item. So if the cabinetry, stuff like that we have to pay for right off the bat, then we'll take a deposit for that, but only for that. I want our customers to feel comfortable as they're doing business with us. So we do weekly draws to ensure that you see we're doing the work and you can see what we're asking for. So each Monday you'll get a call going, hey, we did this last week. We'd love to take this draw. And they'd say, yep, that's great. We always hold stuff back at the end because, again, we want to make sure you as a customer is very comfortable by going through this and you're not that scary situation because you've heard it. You give that deposit away and people don't show back up. And that's inherently. Now, your bigger companies, they do deposits, and that's kind of standard in an industry. Not saying we're not a bigger company. I don't think we'll ever go to that because we're more customer focused. We want to make sure you guys are taken care of. But your bigger companies, as standard, they'll do that. That's okay, but the problem is there's timelines. So a lot of times you can give that money down, they'll take it, but they're not ready to start your job, so they can drag their feet a little bit. They've already got some money, right? So, the money controls the job. Honestly, the money controls the job, and it controls how quickly they're going to start your job, and how it controls everything. So, if you can control the weekly payments, then you have control of your job.
Right.
So
And so, making these large deposits can be a scary thing, and so when it comes to the next tip, which is references, how can they be comfortable in knowing that, kind of going back to your story that you were telling earlier, how can they be comfortable that you're the right contractor, or at least you're finding the best contractor? What's the best place to find references?
And I know, and I go back to that story with JR, right? Because I could have said, hey, can you send me some references? And he probably did.
Yeah, maybe.
And he probably sent him some references on a few jobs you did right. And they're going to raves about it. They're going to let me spit that out. He's going to talk raves about him. And so, asking a contractor for a review, or asking anybody for a reference they're going to give you their best reference. They're just going to do that. Actually, somebody asked me that the other day, and I said, I tell you what, and I was very transparent. I said, I want to be as fair as you as possible. So I can definitely give you some names you want me to. Or if you like, you can go on our Google review page. There's over 100, and I think we're at 150 there.
Right.
Just pick somebody. I'll give them a call and see if they'd be welcome to talk to you.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the fairest way. That way, they have the power about who they can check, and they can't rely on who I'm going to give them.
Right.
So no, I would say references are, they're not really good anymore. Google reviews are good, and Google. I heard this from a customer the other day too, and they said, anybody can get a Google review. No, they can't. Not these days. We can talk. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But I think back in the past, and you correct me if I'm wrong, way back when Google kind of started, people put fake reviews out there. It would help boost somebody's business, but you can't do that anymore. Google, man, they've shut us out a couple of times. About how particular they want things. So they are very critical about reviews and making sure they're legit. So it is, I'd say impossible for somebody to start getting fake reviews. You may get a few of them, maybe get by, but So in the construction industry, reviews are hard to get because we're doing construction projects and we're taking up your lives. 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of your lives. And no matter how the project runs, it's just like having your aunt living with you, or your brother living with you. They're great, you love them, but when they live with you, it's like, get out of my house, get out of my house. And so, and I forgot where I was going on that, but reviews are very hard to get, and so you got to keep the relationship there. You got to make sure you're doing the right things, and then the customer says, "Yeah, that was a great experience. I'm going to give you a review." So our reviews come out of experience. We want to make sure we're giving a good construction experience, not just a construction job.
Right.
And so we go above and beyond those areas.
Yeah, just to speak to the Google reviews a little bit. Like you said, Google is very good at making sure that the reviews are authentic. They are very good at taking down fake reviews or, reviews that are not, if it's a former employee or something that's just disgruntled, with the company.
We've had that before.
Right. And so they're good at highlighting legitimate actual reviews. And so, like you were saying, it's very difficult today to either buy reviews or get fake reviews because they'll just flag your profile and take it down. Right. And so it's really, you think it's simple, it's like Google, Google reviews, everyone has them, you see them everywhere and things like that, but and you might not value them because you see them so often, but they really are one of the best places you can go to get an overall understanding of how any business and your contractor you can really see their work and see what their customers have to say about them.
Yeah, most definitely. Google reviews is where it's at. So very hard to get. So if you're hiring a contractor, making sure you're checking on and checking the date on the reviews too, because if you go through there and you notice they hadn't had a review in a year, well, why not? What's going on? Have they been closed in a year? What's going on? Right. So making sure they're relevant. And there, hey, can you send me such and such number? I'd like to call her for a reference, right? So. I think that, definitely reviews is where it's at.
Yes, absolutely. And so just moving on to our next step here. So we were talking about estimates here, vague estimates. So tell us a little bit about what they should look out for when hiring a contractor here.
Wow. So, we of course, we put out estimates all the time. And we get a constant, not I would say constant, but hey, you're higher than the other ones. And we are. Because we have the protection involved, we have everything. We put the customers first. We make sure they're totally protected. So if something does happen, so that does cost more, right? Then it concerns me because I'm really concerned when it comes to estimating. When they pick a contractor and they say, hey, this contract I had one tell me $10,000 cheaper. I was like, no, be careful. Don't do that. And they don't believe me. And I'm like. I know our prices, and if somebody's $10,000 cheaper, there's a huge problem. There's something not going on. Something didn't call it an estimate. So vague estimates, wow. If they don't catch everything, then they make their money off change orders. Change orders is in the industry. If you start getting coaching in industry, and that there's a whole level of talking about how you can make money off change orders. I'm like, to me that's just wrong. So they come out with a lower bid to get the job. And they got the job right, and they go, oh yeah, we need to do a change order for this. Well, why didn't you catch that? Well, we missed it. Well, so you doing your homework, making sure you doing your homework as a homeowner, making sure you have everything in that estimate is very detailed out. You spend some time with them. We even go through it with the estimate verbally, line by line, making sure everything's understood. Because inherently, even some of our estimates, we send them out, and we go start doing the job, and customers say, why are you not doing that? Well, it wasn't an estimate. What do you mean it wasn't? Well, we sent it to you. And we want the customers to really go through it because we don't want any surprises at all, because surprises hurt. And so making sure you comb through that estimate really, really good, make sure it's detailed, and ask questions, because the vague estimates could really cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And so just that really ties in with our next tip here, which is communication. And so if there's no open communication, then that's a huge red flag, isn't it?
Right. Communication is hard. That's probably, even though we improved our communication, I'm still improving it. We're still getting better at it, but we'll still get dinged at it. And if we're getting dinged at it, I can imagine some of these guys that don't even hardly call back. So yeah, if you get a contractor that come out and give you an estimate, and you text them and they don't text you back for several hours or maybe a day, that's how your job's going to run. It's just how it's going to run. So making sure the communication is on point. So if the communication in the beginning is rough, then that's a telltale sign. You definitely need to stay away, because there's a lot of moving parts in a construction project, and communication is a must. When you're going to be there, because just think about this. You're trying to get ready for in the morning. You don't know if somebody's coming to your house or not. They hadn't called you yet. You're trying to get dressed, and you're like, am I supposed to stay here? What am I supposed to do? Nobody's communicating me. It's just frustrating. So, and we've been caught in those situations too, and I work hard on not making sure that happens. So communication's a must.
Yeah. And so, moving on to the next topic here, or the next tip. So permitting. So tell us a little bit and explain a little bit to the customers here, like, what should they know about permits when hiring a contractor?
Right. Well, permits, GC license, that all kind of goes hand in hand. You got to have a GC license to get permits. So smaller contractors, sometimes they'll work under another contractor, which is okay. But that general contractor needs to come on the job and look at things, unless they're a qualifying agent of the company. Now, a GC can become a qualifying agent of the company. That goes to the state, you get it set up, and then basically they're part of that company. So basically, that GC is said, look, I've investigated this company. Is that right? I've looked into them. I've been on their jobs. They do it right, and so I'm standing behind them. And so through that process, that GC is basically through the state standing behind that company, going, any decision they make, I'm standing behind it. And so that's another way. But most commonly what happens is, they are working under another GC, because GCs don't do small jobs. They're not going to come onto your deck. They're just not. They're building houses. They're doing bigger things. They're building apartment complexes. They're just building. But if you do have a contractor that does not have a GC license, that's okay. But if they're pulling a permit under a GC license, that GC needs to at least come look at the job if he's not a qualifying agent of the company, because you're still responsible. So at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you're still responsible. So, so making sure that happens, and then permitting, there's different ways you can permit a project. You as a homeowner, you can definitely permit your project. And we do offer that. So some things we do. One, that comes to education piece. So when you get our estimate, it actually there's a whole section about permits and really educating you what in the state of Georgia, what should be permitted, what shouldn't be permitted. What the legal obligations are. If you don't want to permit, these are your legal obligations. If you do want to permit, this is what. So we really try to educate in that area, because it's a big sticking point. And so we do, if the customer wants to do their own permit, because we charge $1,500 to pull a permit. And they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Well, there's a lot of time, and the counties and cities make it really hard on contractors. It's unbelievable. That's all I can say. Unbelievable about the stuff we have to go through. So going through that process, making sure that we actually pay somebody to pull our permits, and so we charge $1,500 to do that, and a lot of customers don't want to pay that, so we help them walk that process. So even through that, we're still putting our general contractor license on the permit application, so they still have to have that and go through that, but it helps save them. And honestly, it's quicker if the homeowner does it. It's a lot faster. I've had a homeowner go through and get one in one day. I'm like, you did what? It takes us 2-3 weeks. So making sure you get a permit in place. Now, permits. Sometimes people want government in their house. They don't want the government knowing about that, so they don't want to pull a permit. That's kind of sketchy. Some jobs I just won't do without a permit. I just will not do. Because that's our business. So
Okay, well, so these are all really great tips, and so this might be just something very simple, something that might kind of be just an immediate red flag, is speed of how quickly they can get started on the
when
project.
they start up,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so if someone says, hey, well, I can come over today, or we can get this project started tomorrow, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, work's slow now. I guess right now we're in the middle of winter, so it is slow. So that could happen. But in general, if work's going along and somebody say, hey, I can start tomorrow, why aren't they busy? So that's a question to ask. Why aren't you busy? And so that may be a question to ask them. So don't be afraid to ask questions. So how come can you start tomorrow? What's going on? Well, I had a job that postponed. Oh, that's a perfect, because we do have that sometimes. But again, if they're ready to start right away, what have they been doing? What's going on? Because if they're not busy, then why? If you're not busy, you're not a good contractor. It's just that simple. 'Cause if you're doing the right things, you should stay consistently busy.
And I mean, I think that ties right into the communication piece, because maybe if there's something going on, or if they had, some kind of personal situation where they couldn't be working or something, then you just need to find out, right? And so, but that's something that's very good to ask. Now, something else that might be a red flag is potentially just not having a physical address or like an on-site location where you can go and visit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that's a big deal. Yeah, I mean, you just think that's not a big deal because most contractors work out of their house, which is, I guess, is okay. But do they have their address printed, right? Is it part of Google? Because I know in Google you don't have to list address, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Right. So if something goes wrong, how are you going to find them? How do you going to get in touch with them? You have a phone number, you have an email, but other than that, you don't know how to find them. So legally, if something has to happen, where are you going to send the papers to? So not only if they give you an address, verify their address. We chose to do a storefront, and it was funny because a lot of contractors said, "Why are you doing that? You're wasting money." I was like, I think it brings legitimacy, transparency. So when somebody's able to walk in, they can say, "Okay, I feel comfortable. I know if something goes wrong, I know who to come to. I know where they're at." And so and that's what I tell them. It's like we put ourselves out in plain view. So yeah, making sure you know where they're at. It's a must, because if something does go wrong, you can't serve them, then you have no legal action whatsoever.
Right. All right. Well, so Jerry, tell us about that last tip here, that secret sauce here.
The secret paper. So the secret paper, I wish I had one here, but I don't. But lien waivers. Lien waivers. If you don't want, do you know what a lien waiver is?
I don't know.
All right. And most people don't. And so they go into a construction project and they're going along, and all of a sudden they get a bill from the Home Depot or their supplier, and they say, "Hey, you need to pay this bill." And you're like, "What? Why? I paid somebody to do my job, and I shouldn't have to pay this." Well, that contractor didn't pay their bill, which makes you responsible for it, or you're the homeowner responsible for it. And you go, how am I responsible for it, right? So let me explain about how that works. So lien waivers, in the state of Georgia, the way they work is basically, if I, as a contractor, go to Home Depot, Hills, Ace Hardware, any of my suppliers, and I have a charge account, right? I charge the lumber, I get them delivered to your house, and we build it, and I don't pay that bill. I want to take a vacation. I want to go enjoy it, take my family. I don't pay that bill. Well, when we set up a job at any of these places, they always ask for that homeowner's address. They're doing that for one specific reason. Because if that contractor doesn't pay that job, that supplier's coming after the homeowner. And they're going to lien that job. And legally, you're responsible for paying it. There's no way out of it. And so a lien waiver, what that does, you get that from your contractor. And basically, it's a piece of paper. It says, basically, I'm the contractor. I'm releasing all liens and waivers against your property. Basically, I'm saying everything's going to be paid for. I'm taking responsibility. That way, if I don't pay that supplier, legally that one piece of paper stops the direction. They don't come after the homeowner, they come after the contractor. So very, very, very important. We actually have it built in our contract. It's part of our language. It's kind of embedded in there, so we want to make sure the customer's protected in that. So yeah, I want to make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah. So these tips are essential. I mean, all of these different things. Some are kind of quick eye tests. Like the Google reviews, things like that. But some of these things, like the lien waiver, are just very important. It sounds like so.
Very important.
All right, man. I think we should probably wrap it up. The sun's right in my eyes, so
no,
getting blind here.
Luckily, my bald head's not over here because it would really spark. So look, if there's anything on there, if any of this helped you out, please share it, like, subscribe to our channel. That really helps out a lot. There's going to be other videos popping up after this one, related topics going to help you as you go through this journey. You may not be doing a remodel now, but you may be planning one. It's good to go ahead and start doing this. So look for that next video. We love you. Thank you so very much, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.
Thank you.